So that brings us to our presentation. Bill Keyrouze serves as Executive Director of the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or AMPO, a nonprofit organization serving the needs and interests of MPOs like us nationwide. Previously, Bill worked at Building America's Future, an infrastructure advocacy coalition. He also worked for U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York as Deputy Director of his Hudson Valley Regional Office. He holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Rutgers University and a master's in sustainable urban planning from George Washington University. Please welcome Bill Keyrouze.
Thank you, Chair Bartlett, and thank you, Vice Chair Kelly and Dave. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I actually reside in New Jersey. It's actually in South Jersey, so please don't hold that against me. Go Sixers. Anyhow, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you to Dave and the staff for all the great work that you do and in supporting our organization. And it's really meaningful and critical, in fact, that y'all are involved in AMPO, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Also, just wanted to commend Dave on keeping that acronym book so small. It's impressive. So I'll talk a little bit about today, a little bit about obligatory comments on AMPO, who we are, what we do, what we're about. And then I'll dive into sort of a national perspective on the IIJA and implementation, what we've been tracking, hearing, paying attention to, and sort of how that lines up with what's going on here in North Jersey. So a little bit about AMPO. These are our core values. There are two things that drive AMPO as an organization. The first is our members. We are a member-led, member-driven organization. Again, that's why it's so critical that NJTPA is involved in our organization, and we really appreciate the support. The other is our values. So we really value being a leading resource of information for our members and for our partners. Impact, being able to influence what's going on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and serving in the best interest of the MPOs across the country. And then finally, collaboration. Our strength is our network. So we provide a forum and a number of opportunities for MPO staff and directors to come together in a number of different ways. So again, telling the story, a big part of what we do is communicate with members of Congress, and that conversation always starts with what the heck is an MPO? And then we sort of go from there based on what we're hearing from our members. So Dave actually has my personal cell phone, whether I like it or not. So we are in frequent communication, and you know, it's always important for us to have our ear to the ground as to what's going on across the MPO community, and certainly here at NJTPA. And then we're able to communicate that back to members of Congress. Just a quick note, you know, roughly 2/3 of the MPOs aren't actually able to legally lobby on behalf of themselves, whether that's due to federal or state regulations. And so that's sort of where our organization steps in, and we're able to have those conversations on the Hill. So just a quick snapshot on the IIJA bill. You know, historic investment in surface transportation, $100+ billion in grant programs, which a lot of new eligibility specifically for MPOs, which is really exciting. I think there are about 17 or 18 new programs specifically for, well, that MPOs were eligible for that were new in the IIJA. New formula programs to address carbon reduction and climate change. And then a heavy investment in electrification and rail. So a couple of things that are new. David mentioned thriving communities. That's exciting to hear that there were some recipients here in JTPA planning area. Reconnecting communities and neighborhood access and equity. Again, new programs, and I'll get to this in a little bit, but both as a part of thriving and reconnecting, actually, and neighborhood access. In fact, there was a significant amount of money for technical assistance, and part of an eligible use for that technical assistance is to work on applying for all of these discretionary programs, because we know that that's we know that that's a struggle across the country. It's a lot to navigate, understand if you have a project, what program is appropriate. You know, do you need a benefit cost analysis as a part of that application? You know, what sort of technical capacity will my staff need to put that application together? There's a lot to consider. And right, there's no guaranteed return on investment. It's a competitive program. So, you know, we've heard anecdotally that some of these applications could cost anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 together. And then again, there's no guarantee on that that you receive those funds. So anyhow, I'll get to that a little bit more later on. Carbon reduction, protect, and NEVI program. Under the NEVI program, I believe New Jersey has seen close to 40 million already go out through that program. And I think New Jersey is in line to receive over 100 million as part of that program. So that's exciting. And then housing, that's a big one. There's some new requirements written into the bill encouraging MPOs to work more closely with housing agencies in their planning areas and try to coordinate planning as it relates to affordable housing, local housing patterns. So AMPO leadership actually met with HUD a couple weeks ago to sort of strengthen and develop our relationship with them. The conversation was, we are here at the table to have those conversations and really sort of advance the state of the practice as it relates to linking transportation planning, land use, and housing. But with that, we need some additional support. Can HUD provide technical assistance and access to programs, additional resources to have those conversations? So we're excited about that conversation and where that's going to head, and we'll continue to push that information out. So just another couple of quick snapshots on the IIJA. Again, a historic amount of discretionary funds. This chart on the left shows the jump from the last year of the FAST Act, the last reauthorization bill in discretionary funds, to the first year of the IIJA. So from the 5.5 all the way up to the 28, it's a significant, lot of money. That being said, the majority of the bill, 3/4, a little over 3/4, is still being sent out through formula funds. It's important that we continue to plan and collaborate so that we're able to handle all of those formula funds, because there's a lot that's coming at us. I'll get to that a little bit more too in terms of folks being able to handle all that new money program. So just pulled a couple of numbers and statistics from some of our resources, just in terms of where NJ currently stands as far as funds that have been announced. So to date, this was as of April, 5.2 billion. That's a combination of both formula and discretionary / competitive. That chart in the middle sort of shows where New Jersey lands in comparison to the rest of the country. And then just pulled together some stats comparing y'all to Maryland, simply just because of geography and population. And just again, in terms of comparison, New Jersey is actually doing quite well. And you're making my job here a little easier today, delivering good news instead of bad news, right? So just pulled a couple of those numbers together just to simply show that New Jersey is receiving a significant amount of money. And in terms of competitive discretionary programs, y'all are taking great advantage of those, as well, as we heard from the chairman, Dave. Just a quick snapshot on what some of those are. Y'all are more familiar with these than I am, but just wanted to mention these are a select number of projects that will be funded through some of the discretionary programs. Obviously, the big one being the Hudson Tunnel. And this is a little bit dated in that it doesn't capture what Dave mentioned in terms of thriving communities, and then it also doesn't necessarily capture SS4A, Safe Streets for All. I know a number of folks in the room received some of those SS4A programs, grant funds as well. So again, just a quick snapshot on where the Gateway Hudson Tunnel project is. It did receive a significant amount of funds through the IIJA. And again, you'll probably know this better than I do, but did just want to mention that I don't anticipate any project delay with the ongoing discussions related to the debt ceiling. We'll see how the next couple of weeks go, but I don't anticipate project delay as far as that goes. So just getting into a little bit about some of the resources that are available. This link is something that I bookmark and encourage y'all to as well. It's a timeline and table of all the different programs that are made available. USDOT does a pretty good job of keeping this up to date and refresh it regularly. So it's a good way to sort of keep track of when these notice of funding opportunities are made available and when the application deadlines are, and sort of what's required as a part of that application. So as I mentioned, there are a number of resources to include a discretionary preparation checklist. So if you haven't all seen the USDOT Navigator just yet, I encourage you to check it out. That's where you'll find that this previous table, as well as a preparation checklist and just sort of all of the different programs and resources that are available as a part of the IIJA. Some April updates. We had heard that they are working on a database that will sort of allow you to query based on what you're looking for. So if I'm a small local government or if I have a specific project in mind, you'll be able to sort of plug that criteria in and it'll filter through and show you what programs probably make the most sense for you. So we're excited about that. And then, as I had mentioned, just a couple of new technical assistance programs that have come online or will be coming online. There was, as you can see, a significant amount of money both in reconnecting communities and thriving for specifically for technical assistance. And like I said, an eligible activity is working with you to develop an application for some of the discretionary programs, sort of working to navigate all that's out there. So a little bit about what we're hearing. Like I said, it's a lot of money, a historic amount, both through formula and through discretionary programs. And in addition, there's a lot of new programs that are being stood up, a lot of new requirements. We're constantly working with USDOT on guidance and trying to better understand how to implement all of this. And so we're all sort of drinking from the proverbial fire hose, right? We're all in this together. Misery loves company. So I'm sort of here to deliver that message that if you feel like you're being challenged by everything that's coming at us, you're not alone. It's exactly what we're hearing from the rest of the country. And we as an organization are working closely with our partners. We have a great relationship with the National League of Cities and the National Association of Counties, and we're frequently on the phone with them. Just what are y'all hearing from your mayors and commissioners, and how can we as the MPO community help to be of assistance as we continue to navigate and collaborate on all of this. So a couple of those across the bottom. This is what we've been hearing with our ear to the ground. We participate in a number of gatherings and presentations, such as this here today. There are a number of MPO statewide associations that get together on a regular basis, and so we're participating either in person or virtually to really, again, hear what's going on the ground across the country. And these are sort of the things that are rising to the top. Workforce remains a huge issue just across the country and across all levels, local, regional, state, federally. It's a huge challenge that we're working with our partners to try to mitigate and address. The lack of local funds, that's an issue. I don't believe that's as much of an issue here, but it certainly is across the country. Coming up with that 20% of the local match to match that 80% of federal funds continues to be a challenge, and taking advantage of all of these. Anecdotally, I had heard from a major metropolitan area, I won't name names, but you wouldn't think that funds or a technical capacity would have been an issue, but it was, and they actually didn't apply for any of these discretionary funds or programs in the last 2 fiscal years because they weren't able to pull up the 20% match or really have the capacity on staff. So it remains a challenge, and we're working to find ways to assist our members in navigating that. I'll just end with again, it's a lot of new programs and new funding, and we're all in this together, working to navigate it all. And our message is that a rising tide raises all ships. So if we collectively at the local, regional, and state level can work better together, then we all win at the end of the day. It's about the services that we're providing and delivering, right? So I'll just finish with an anecdote. I recently heard an example in Georgia, in fact, of working with a local school district in suburban Atlanta. They outfitted a couple of school buses with sensors that communicated with traffic lights. So the idea was to get the school buses to school faster on their route and not effectively having to stop at any traffic lights where it made sense and where they were able to do so. And, you would assume a couple of benefits from that, obviously reduction in fuel and better for the climate, savings in cost on fuel and this. What they weren't anticipating were a couple of really interesting things. One, the drivers reported significantly less stress because when they stopped at red lights. That's often when the children would get up and make a fuss, get into some trouble. And that wasn't occurring when they were able to go through all the green lights. And then, most importantly, all of the kids that were on those buses were able to participate in the free breakfast that was provided. So there were a number of children that were effectively missing breakfast because their school bus was late. They weren't able to get to school on time and participate in that program. And so this ensured that every kid was able to participate in that free breakfast. So, sometimes it's nice to take a step back and think about the impact that we can have as transportation planners and local elected officials. And I know we often get caught up in the day-to-day and sort of lose sight of the bigger picture. So it's nice to sort of hear how some of what we do has a real impact on lives and children. So anyhow, I will end with that.